Without the extra stimulus, will the hopes of recovery begin to fade? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to talk about what's been happening. I think this should be front and center. We're looking at millions of people who their lives might be about to change. This is serious, so I'm glad that you clicked on this video. We are looking at a situation where you've got on June 12th, as early as June 12th, there are millions of people in these 24 states who are not going to have the income that they did throughout this period. This is huge. I'm going to talk to you about why you got 70% of the US economy relying on the consumer, and that would have a dramatic impact for Main Street, but also for Wall Street. So this affects everybody, even if you are not specifically and directly involved. Please, let's get into this right away. I think this is so important, and of course, I wanted to bring this up front and center. I think that's where it should be. Millions of Americans in 24 states are set to lose unemployment benefits as early as June 12th. So we're going to dig deeper a little bit into this article of CNBC, and you can see that there are 24 states, and as early as June, July, they're looking at ending the federal unemployment assistance for the current September 6th, 2021 expiration date. So that's where it was set initially. They want to end it a little bit earlier and cut off those, those checks that are going out to people. The benefits that would end early include not only the extra $300 per week federal supplement, but also the programs for gig workers and others who do normally not qualify for aid and long-term unemployed in most cases. And they just show you right here the different dates. June 12th, you got 4 states, and it basically just goes down the list. So if you want to pause the video or zoom in, maybe this affects you, or you want to go to the article itself, the link will be in the description as always under the sources. You could look at this. A worker in Iowa would lose out on almost $4,000 in enhanced benefits. So this is huge. And I want people to understand this. It's not just about the people who are directly affected. This is going to have an impact on the economy as a whole, if it goes through, if it actually happens. And we don't have to wait too long. By the time you're watching this video, it's going to be less than 2 weeks away. So they do get into more of the details here, but I wanted to expand a little bit further as well. I've got some other information. Why end the payments early? And essentially what they're saying here is employers are telling me one of the biggest reasons they cannot recruit and retain some workers is because those employees are receiving more on unemployment than they would while working. My decision is based on a fundamental conservative principle. We don't want people on unemployment. We want people working. So that's what they're saying. Whatever you think of the situation, I'm simply bringing the economic aspects to you from the center. This is really key as far as I'm concerned. This is SNAP. And you're looking at basically food stamps, okay? I wanted to show you how many people right now today are on food stamps, because I don't think a lot of individuals realize this. Okay, you can look at the data. I brought this up directly from the USDA's website. I always bring you the sources directly. You hold me to that, okay? Because I'm going to always give you the information. If I can't find it from the actual source, chances are I don't include it. So you see other people covering things, and the Money GPS hasn't covered it. Why? A lot of times it's because I can't find the actual source of the information, so I'm not going to touch it. That's just the way I am. It's just the way this show is, okay? It's very important to me. Looking at this information, you will see 42 million people. This is coming directly from the source itself as of February 2021. 42 million people are on food stamps. What does that tell you about how many people really need the government to be able to subsist? Yes, are there people probably abusing this? Absolutely. But you know that there are millions of people who legitimately don't have anything. And what's happening here? What is the Federal Reserve doing? Oh, they have the Fed Listens program. They're taking care of you. I mean, come on. It's a joke. their activities are causing the problem to get worse. People don't realize it. They think that low interest rates are what we need because, that's going to help out the little guy. But it doesn't, because credit card debt, people with bad credit, they're dealing with extremely high interest rates. People who are borrowing like that don't get 0% interest rates. That's for the banks. It's a big, big difference from what you hear, isn't it? Here's what happens and what to do if you can't pay your federal student loans. You're talking about one of the biggest bubbles in the world, that is student loans. They talk about, after certain periods of time, they break it down. But in this case here, I'll go through it really quickly. Apparently, right now, the federal student loan interest rates have been set to 0 and payments have been paused. Okay? They go through this, talking about how they're protecting people and so on. 15 days after payment is due, 270 days after, and then you eventually get to 1 year after the payment is due. If a borrower has not made a payment in over a year, federal student loans will often be transferred to a default collection agency. And they basically just go in, they're going to charge you interest, they're going to be harassing you on the phone and so on. So there's no way to technically get out of this, supposedly. But what the government wants to do is simply wipe some of that off. Now, I don't know if that's going to go over very well. We'll see what happens. But this right here, to me, just gives insight as to what's been happening over this period of time. It has been shocking as far as I'm concerned to see how many people are in debt and how many people are really running right at the line. I mean, they are just barely making it through the day, making it through the week. I've known people who every single day had to work on their budget because that's how narrow the band was between not being able to eat that day and being able to, go on and do whatever it is that they do. I mean, it's unbelievable. But you got the Federal Reserve continuously on a daily basis, devaluing your currency, making it even harder every single day. Let's talk about the Money GPS insights, where we break it down, where we think about how the investors, how the individuals need to be really digesting this information. Okay. Number one, it is very important to understand that millions of people today need the government stimulus just to live. Number two, the economy in the US in particular relies heavily on the US consumer. This is extremely important. And then we have number three, the markets will correct if the economy visibly weakens. If this actually does happen and you start to see that in the statistics that they're willing to publish, the markets are not going to like it. This was an interesting article here, initially brought to me by a subscriber, and then I had found it through, doing my daily searches, came up on this one in Bloomberg. But you're looking at mega landlords snapping up Zillow homes before the public can see them. And essentially what they're trying to point out here is that you've got these big businesses who are buying these homes in a time in which there's such low inventory, people are struggling to pay, the prices are surging, they can't afford it already, and so on. I don't have too much to say about the article, but I just think it's important to note how high prices have gone. These people are really struggling in every way, and if they're trying to buy a home right now, the short term here is not looking good because everything is so expensive. And at the same time, you've got world stocks set for the fourth month of gains in data heavy week. So we're going to see, I will bring all that information to you, of course, but they're talking about inflation being really an important factor here that they are, looking at. We've seen all the statistics, of course. Global stocks remain near a record lifted by the ongoing economic recovery. And of course, the stimulus coming through that has helped a lot. This is important. This is the reason I touch on this. Policymakers have committed to accepting a higher level of inflation, higher volatility in inflation, and as that happens, you will see inflation moving structurally higher. I don't think this is in prices yet. That's coming out of JP Morgan. So I think it's important to look at this information and see what it's all about, okay? This is basically telling you that they're willing to let inflation go as high as it needs to be. There's no stopping it. It's not as if it gets to, their fake inflation rates, 3% or 4% or 5%, and they're going to stop it. That's not happening, at least from what they say. And as a result of this, we've seen precious metals rising. Precious metals have done, in this period of time over the last couple months, they have performed very well. You could see gold, it is getting closer and closer to that $2,000 mark, 1911 as I record this video, and silver charging away at just over $28. We will see what happens with that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the tech companies. Silicon 6, tech giants accused of inflating tax payments by almost $100 billion. It never ends with these companies here. They pay largely 0% tax. I mean, what are they even paying at this point here? And they have been doing everything they can to get around paying. And it looks like they've done very well at this point, let me tell you. Ethereum extends gains to rise 8%. Bitcoin firm. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. I'll give you the charts, but you can see at the top here, that's Bitcoin. And then at the bottom, you could see Ether. And essentially over this period, it looks like Ether has not been hit as hard as Bitcoin. But is this something like we've seen in previous cycles where ultimately, Bitcoin looks the weakest first and then everything tumbles down after that? We don't really know. Only time will tell. Many people have been buying into this, and you could see over this period, I'll show you this now. Now I'll go back to the other article I have, whereby we have noticed the prices have come up quite a bit from their bottom. Okay, so in the case of Ethereum, it's up 14% in the last 24 hours, but over the last several days, it has definitely come up from the bottom that we experienced. Who knows where it will be from this point? But again, what they're suggesting in the Bloomberg article is crypto shakeout stirs debate on Ether's shot at usurping Bitcoin. So could this actually happen? I think it's important to note the fact that at least in the market cap, it's still less than 50% of that. It would take a lot of money into it to see what happens over the next little while. This is important because so many companies are involved around the blockchain technology, around Ethereum. There's all kinds of things that have spawned up as a result of it. You've got ETFs created around Ethereum as well as Bitcoin. So there's definitely more money and more interest coming into this field. It's not necessarily just a speculative vehicle. Of course, there are many cryptocurrencies that are very speculative and are just nonsense as far as I'm concerned, but there's definitely jobs being created around these industries. So it is interesting to watch. I wanted to tell you something. Look, if you don't know already, many people have been unable to see my videos for whatever reason. There's a long list of them. But if you want to make sure that you get these videos, if you want to get the real deal, 5 days a week, you'll get my email from me. I'm going to send it to you directly, and that's going to give you the video of the day. I've also got something else planned really quickly. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to be doing a video every day where it's going to be about a minute long, and this is in addition to the daily video, and this is going to be something where you can probably most likely share with others, or for those who aren't aware, it's a financial education series. I have 7 videos that I'm preparing right now. 3 are already done recording, and essentially just the basics. So you're going to get up to speed with terms that maybe you're just unaware of. What's this guy talking about? Or maybe you got a family member who just needs the very small details about these kind of things, and they don't want all the complicated stuff. So I made it really easy. I used all the graphics and everything that I think that people will enjoy and make it a little bit easier to watch, and they don't necessarily want to watch these type of detailed videos. So stay tuned for that. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, and that's it. Check out this video next.